Welcome to the IREL podcast. Are you sick and tired of real estate gurus pitching their next free construction deal only to find out years later they were completely wrong? Worried the next overseas conference you spend thousands to attend will only be used to sell overpriced lots in deserted developments? Join thousands of other international real estate seekers who are looking for their place in paradise without the sales pitch. Straight from your host, Taylor White.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of the IREL podcast. I'm your host, Taylor White. You're in for a real treat today when I sit down and speak with Cory Martin from Vida Realty in Manuel Antonio, Costa Rica, and we'll get the true story on the local real estate scene and have you coming away wanting to investigate its local property market further or cross it off your short list entirely and continue listening. Right now from Cory, you will learn why a transplant from the West Coast of British Columbia, Canada, moved to Costa Rica and fell in love with the Pura Vida lifestyle and frame of mind. The exact reasons why she fell in love with Manuel Antonio, which was just rated one of the top 10 best beaches in the entire world. How the local real estate market has fared since bottoming out in 2008 and where she sees it heading in the very near future. Reveals the exact areas she recommends her clients to look in, including such gated communities as Tulemar and Salto Estates. Breaks down the price ranges of what you might be looking at, which she mentions starts at about $65,000 up to the millions. Exposes what you might expect in rental returns should you want to rent out your home as a vacation rental, and much more. And don't forget, if you're listening to this podcast and want to grab Cory's contact details, links on buying or selling Manuel Antonio real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/20. Sip on a local agua de pipa, grab some fresh fruit and veggies, and enjoy listening to Cory as much as I did. In case you can't tell, I'm excited. Let's get Cory on the phone. What is going on, Cory? It's Taylor White. I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, straight from Manuel Antonio, Costa Rica, so we can get to know you personally. Tell us more about yourself and where your stomping grounds were before you ended up in Manuel Antonio.
Hi, Taylor. Thanks for inviting me today. Well, I'm a transplanted Canadian from west coast of British Columbia, before that Alberta, Canada. And I started traveling to Costa Rica in 1989, and I just totally fell in love with the country. Like, how can you not? The people, the culture, the climate, the food, the beaches, everything you can do, and the wildlife. It's just wonderful here. So when I got back from my vacation, there's a saying here in Costa Rica, Pura Vida, which loosely translated means pure life, but really it's just everything's cool, everything's great. And when I got back to Canada, I couldn't get that vibe out of my mind. And so I started studying about how to make a permanent move here.
You know, I know that everybody that travels to Costa Rica and then talks about Costa Rica always says Pura Vida. And I know you said it means vibe out. Could you kind of talk some more about what Pura Vida means?
Literally, when you translate it, it's pure life. But
right.
And basically, that's what it is, the essence of life. It's just like, everything's cool, everything's great, chill,
right,
wonderful, you know, and it's the whole vibe of what Costa Rica is.
I'm digging it. Okay, awesome, Cory. And so we can get a better idea of you professionally, give us your brief resume leading up to Vida Realty.
Okay, until 2001, I was a stay-at-home single mom. And then once my daughter started school, I needed to look into various opportunities. And so at that point, I was offered a job at Century 21 in Quepos that was owned by my good friend Jason Harris. And from there on, started my love of real estate. I think on the second day, I sold the house, and I was hooked. And for those 6 years until Jason sold Century 21, that led to the timing of a perfect launch into my own company. So he sold, and I left, and took along my assistant, Christine Morley, and we formed Vida Realty. In 2012, we decided to buy the RE/MAX franchise just for the name recognition to our business.
Hey, Cory, I'm curious. Do you know what the sales price was of your first sale?
I do. It's $55,000. It was a house in Quepos.
That's awesome. I ask everybody. Everybody knows down to the dollar exactly what the first sale was.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now we are getting more familiar with who you are both on a personal and professional level. Let's start to dig into your journey, Cory, just a little bit. Take us back to your mindset. What were some of the reasons why you decided to look at other countries to begin with years ago? And then maybe which countries you were considering before choosing Costa Rica?
Well, I've always been a traveler and adventurous. Up until my move to Costa Rica, I'd already logged about at least 30 countries. And so
wow.
I guess you can say I'm, at that point, well seasoned. When I first started considering leaving Canada, which is a wonderful place, here I'm in Vancouver, it's considered absolutely beautiful, but I just had this yearning for something more tropical. So I started looking into Mexico, but at that time, land ownership was super difficult for foreigners. You had to get a Mexican partner, and then he had to own it with you and then transfer shares back. It was kind of like this complicated setup. And so after my vacation in Costa Rica, I realized that foreign ownership was really easy and accessible, and at that time super affordable, and they were very welcoming to foreigners.
Well, Cory, listeners and I are always fascinated to learn about which countries people have considered and why. Now, let's delve deeper into Costa Rica as a whole, and then why you chose Manuel Antonio in particular versus other popular Costa Rican locations like Jaco and San Jose. Okay,
so back in 1989, 90, when I was traveling around Costa Rica, I literally went all over the country. I went to the north to Guanacaste, I went to the Caribbean, I went to the south to the Osa area, and then over here in Manuel Antonio. And basically, Manuel Antonio was back then and still is a quaint town, had beautiful beaches, beautiful sunsets. It had the jungle, it had the wildlife. And to me, when I was conceptually thinking, I want to move to a tropical paradise, this was it. And, it wasn't like dry, and it still had some, population, but the nature experience was, 4 miles, like right there in front of you. And that's why I chose Manuel Antonio.
Well, Cory, through my travels, I'm a big believer in that I either get a place or I don't. Share with us some more reasons why Manuel Antonio speaks to you.
Well, there's so much to see and do. It's actually a real tourist destination, but has that small town feel. I love that I can go, to all the various markets, and I'm talking about the small town feel here. Everybody's friendly on a first name basis. You go to the pharmacy, they know your name. You go to the fishmonger, he knows your name. On Saturday is the organic produce market along the waterfront. And all the farmers, they know your name. They're happy to see you. You're buying your mangosteens and your oranges and your pineapples, and, you're getting amazing fresh herbs. So, that part about it, the connection with the local people is fantastic. Now we go into the other side of the story, the draw for the tourists, the national park, the beach. Manuel Antonio was recently rated one of the 10 best beaches in the world, and if anybody's been here, you'll know why. And then the activities that you can do are endless. They say there's 21 activities in Manuel Antonio, but, to name a few that I'm involved in, surfing, yoga, sailing, rafting, hiking. It's all here. And you can just lay around on the beach and drink margaritas. We have it. So we have friendly people, amazing fresh food. The quality of food here in Costa Rica, especially Manuel Antonio, I brag about all the time. And it's, our unprecedented beaches and the plethora of things to do.
Hey, Cory, you are from Canada, and you mentioned Vancouver. Can you kind of talk about, from your own point of view, the cost of living in Costa Rica versus when you were back in Vancouver?
Whoa. Well, for example, real estate is one, huge difference. It still is. Back then it was unbelievable, and still even today, big difference.
Right.
The cost of food is through the roof in Canada. Here it's, like I'm telling you, I'm going to the farmer's market on Friday evenings, and I'm buying enough for me and my daughter for the whole week for $23 is what I usually spend on vegetables. And I'm talking fruit and vegetables for the whole week. Now we add in 2 whole fish and, what the other things are that you need to eat. So if you don't buy packaged ingredients, which is health anyways, you can live very well in Costa Rica. Like the cost of living is extremely bearable. Our only thing is electricity is a little bit expensive, but hopefully this country is going more and more and more towards clean energy, in which we hope will bring those electricity bills down some.
And I know that you said that you have a daughter. Do you mind if I ask if she's homeschooled or if you go to local schools or private schools?
She just graduated from the private school system, and she's born and raised here. She's almost 19. I didn't do the homeschool thing. I put her in public school, and then when she got to be in high school age, we moved over to the private school system. She's done really well. She speaks 3 languages fluently.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, English, Spanish, and French. She surfs. She's got growing up here was wonderful for her. We talk about it all the time. I'm like, do you wish you would have grown up in Canada? And she goes, no. We look at this place. It's paradise. And, just the experiences that she grew up around. We have monkeys jumping through our yard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Cory, we have gotten to know you both personally and professionally, reasons why you chose Costa Rica and why Manuel Antonio speaks to you. But get ready, because now it's time for us to pick your brain on the local real estate scene. And to get the juices flowing, we're going to do a quick round of what I like to call the real estate hot seat, where I ask you 5 rapid-fire questions, and you give me an answer in 15 seconds or less each. Cory, are you ready for the Manuel Antonio hot seat?
Let's go.
All righty. What currency is real estate priced in?
U.S. dollars.
Is owning property as a foreigner legal?
Yes, you have the same rights of ownership as a Costa Rican.
Can property be titled?
Yes, all properties are titled and registered in the National Registry, which is important to understand. Apart from fee simple titled properties, there are some beachfront parcels that are actually owned by the Costa Rica government and leased back to the owners for specific purposes, mostly tourism driven. But and that's what we call a right to ownership. But foreigners and Costa Ricans have the same rights.
Can money flow in and out of Costa Rica easily, or are there currency restrictions?
All verified U.S. funds have no problem entering or leaving Costa Rica.
And, of course, my number one question, what is your favorite local drink, Cory?
Agua de pipa, coconut water.
Okay, Cory, you can now relax, but just a little bit, as you are off the Manuel Antonio hot seat. But it's time to zero in on the local real estate scene. Give us your brief synopsis on the real estate market over the last few years, where it is today, and then where you see it heading for the next few years.
Well, like the rest of the world, we experienced a market correction starting in 2008, and prices dropped about 40%, and they've stabled off in that zone right now. You have to bear in mind that Manuel Antonio is a destination paradise, and we have a niche market for that reason. The amount of land we have here is very finite, and so that's also what creates it a very desirable area to live and invest in. It's not like we have like an unending supply of land. We only have so much, mostly because we're in a bowl-shaped configuration, very similar to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, where, the land geographically kind of shapes in a U shape. So it's not like long and linear where, it's endless, the amount of, lots that you could stagger and stack on a long and linear formation. So when you're in a bowl, that's it. There's only so much, and that's it. So I see the demand continuing in our magic town as it continues to evolve and develop, and as more and more people become exposed to our area.
Hey, Cory, I'm curious. If we're looking at a map of Costa Rica, can you better explain where you are located versus some other popular spots?
Okay, so we're on the Pacific coast, pretty much central. We're a 2.5-hour drive from the capital of San Jose. Jaco Beach is very well known. That's 1 hour north of us. We are Manuel Antonio National Park, which is the #1 visited national park of the 11 parks in the country. Down south from us is another big famous national park called Osa.
So, like, when people come to visit, they would fly into San Jose and then drive out to you guys, right?
Yep. Rent a car, drive out. It's 2.5 hours, or I can send a driver for you, which is fun, too, because you can, stop along the way and take in some sights, sip a few cool ones, or you can do a 20-minute puddle jumper flight.
Oh, wow. Okay, Cory, you have us sold on Costa Rica as a country, Manuel Antonio as a location, and then its real estate outlook within the near future. Of course, you don't have a crystal ball. I sure as heck don't. No one does. But that is why I think it's so vitally important to get on-the-ground insight from local real estate professionals. And yes, I just used the words local and on the ground in the same sentence to drive home a very important fact. Cory, you are not some newsletter writer who might spend a few days in Manuel Antonio and then send out emails with hot buys calling yourself an international real estate guru. You are there in the trenches on a daily basis, dealing with local buyers, sellers, agents, lawyers, and every facet of the real estate business. Cory, break this down even further for us. Pretend you are Google Maps or Google Street View. What streets or parts of the city are we talking about?
Okay, Anything with wide open ocean views. Second to that, the gated communities of Tulemar, Salto Estates, Manuel Antonio Estates, and Rancho Manuel Antonio. They're all great areas to invest and live in. We also have some surprise developments coming down the pike very soon.
And then how big is this area square mileage-wise or town-wise or population-wise?
Manuel Antonio, oh my goodness me.
Do you know?
I think it's 500 square acres, I believe, or hectares. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the park. It's not very big. Let me tell you, it's 7 kilometers from town, which is Capos, to Manuel Antonio. So it's 7 kilometers long, and it's one road in, one road out. So it's everything branches off that road. As you're going towards the beach, everything on the right-hand side is kind of like the view properties, and on the left-hand side would be more the countryside and mountain view properties.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, Cory, now that we have specific locations in mind, what types of properties do you recommend? And first, let me give you a few brief examples of what I mean. Are we talking about buying pre-construction units for capital appreciation that we later flip? Are we talking about buying completed apartments, houses, or office spaces to generate rental income? Or are we talking about buying land to either sell as is or subdivide into smaller tracts? Cory, give us a better idea of what you are talking about and recommending today.
Well, vacation rental properties are always a great investment here. Manuel Antonio is the #1 visited national parks, and we have about 21 activities to participate in. So that appeals to all sectors of the population. You know,
absolutely.
Families, sports fishing enthusiasts, honeymooners, wedding destinations, spring breakers, yogis, surfers. We have a strong gay following here. So something for all sectors of the population is what I'm trying to get across. So that's what makes it such a special and great investment for vacation rentals.
I love that. Okay, Cory, now I'm going to hit you up with a 2-part question that I know everyone wants to know, and you have to give us a general range so we have some price points in mind. Here they are. Part 1. What would be the price range of what we are talking about? Maybe give us a starting price point at the low end to a final price point at the high end. And Cory, just to clarify, I'm talking about total purchase price.
Okay, so you can buy a 5,000 square meter lot in a gated community for as little as $65,000. 5,000 square meters, just over an acre. You can buy a nice 2-story villa in a hotel complex for $240,000. You could buy a beautiful 2,700 square foot, 3-bedroom ocean view condo in a resort with a private beach starting at $475,000. You could buy 3-bedroom ocean view house with, amazing views, beautifully designed, architectural award winner for, $585,000 with where you would net after everything about $65,000 on rental income.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's like about 12% ROI.
Right.
I have some great fixer-uppers with, good views starting at $595,000. I can give you a turnkey walk on the beach that nets about $250,000 a year for $2.4 million. Or we can go as high as a 10-bedroom luxury home for $3.2 million, which I actually just showed yesterday, and the people were like, "Are you kidding me? This is fabulous."
And that's Cory. Why don't we transition to a part 2? I know it's tough, but I'm asking anyways. What would be the cost per meter? Again, a starting price point at the low end, a final price point at the high end, and just for a general range.
Okay, so raw land, $15 a meter in a gated community, and $295 walk out onto the beach.
Okay, Cory, this is a question I like to call, what would Grandma do? My grandma calls you up, says she has X amount of dollars to spend. You can't let my grandma down. Share with us 3 specific examples you would show her and explain why these make sense.
Okay, anything with an awesome ocean view. This never gets old. People always ask for ocean view. Never
does.
Okay. Anything that's a good vacation rental earner, like the one I mentioned earlier, something that's going to give you a return on investment of 10% and higher. Or anything that's subdividable, where we can end up with little parcels of land that we can then turn around and rebuild some homes in the $200,000 to $300,000 range, which is the hole in our market right now.
3 great options. And Cory, we are laser focused on specific areas. We know our starting price point. We have an idea of cost per meter. We have 3 specific examples, which are good enough even for Grandma. Now, let me ask you an obvious question. How do we buy? Do we need to come in with all cash, whether that's from our checking account, home equity line of credit, or retirement funds? Or can we come in with a certain percentage down and get local financing from a bank or credit union?
Bank financing is very difficult for foreigners in Costa Rica. So for that reason, most people come in with cash that they've leveraged from their homes or other investments in their homeland. And also too, all cash, we can usually negotiate a much better price.
And just curious, do you have any clients that come over that use truly self-directed IRAs from their home country?
Yes, we do. Yeah. And a lot of in Canada, no, that's not an option, but a lot of Americans do that.
From the States, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Cory, anyone who has ever owned real estate can tell you need to have a money exit strategy in place even before you buy. It's something what I like to call, where's the cheddar? You are buying the property to do what with it to make some money. So, Cory, where's my cheddar?
Okay, well, our prices are pretty much rock bottom right now, since I've been in real estate. So the opportunity for appreciation is there. And as we've been discussing, certain properties have that magic combination of view, style, number of beds, and location that makes them an excellent rental property. And in that scenario, the property is not just a property anymore. It becomes a business. So, you're selling people who are looking for a return on their investment.
Cory, absolutely fantastic, and I wanted to thank you for taking the time to share with us about Manuel Antonio Real Estate. We have heard about your journey, why you chose Costa Rica, price points to look out for, specific examples good enough even for grandma, a money strategy to purchase, and then what we might do with it after the fact to make some cheddar. Unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye, but before we do, share with us easy ways to get a hold of you, any parting advice you might want to share, and then let's say goodbye.
Okay. Thank you, Taylor. It's been my pleasure. I would love to continue this discussion with any of your listeners out there. My email is Cory, that's Cory, at VidaRealtyCR.com.
Absolutely fantastic, Cory. I have really enjoyed this conversation straight from Costa Rica to our earbuds, and I hope we can catch up again in 3 to 6 months.
I hope so, too. And by then, maybe I'll be able to share with our listeners some amazing new projects and opportunities that are coming down the pike.
I want to thank Cory once again for her awesome take being on the ground in Manuel Antonio, Costa Rica. Listening to Cory's take epitomizes why expats flock to live the Pura Vida lifestyle in the CR, and I can't wait to get her back on the show again soon with more specific Manuel Antonio real estate investments she believes you need to hear about right now. If you are listening to this podcast and want to grab Cory's contact details, links on buying or selling Manuel Antonio real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/20. After listening to Cory live Pura Vida in Costa Rica, and you want to see more real-life examples of real estate in Costa Rica, I encourage you to get signed up for our free property alert service. Each time a property is listed by an owner, agent, or developer in Costa Rica, you get it via email, completely free. Each property listing displays up to 21 pictures, prices, and easy ways to get a hold of the listers so you can get the information you want most direct. Head on over to irelpodcast.com/20 to get started.
You have been listening to the IREL Podcast with Taylor White. Be sure to hit up irelpodcast.com for more. That's irelpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.